Okay, we'll go ahead and call the meeting to order at 6:35. Once again, make sure everyone's patience as we get started. First thing we have on the agenda tonight, and by the way, I apologize for not getting the minutes out from our last meeting. I didn't see those. This meeting crept up on me and I completely forgot about it until 15 minutes ago when it popped up on the calendar. So I'll make sure we do that for our next meeting. We'll have this meeting minutes and September's minutes to review and approve. So no minutes to review and approve tonight. First thing on the agenda is debrief from Heritage Day. So yeah, what are the thoughts?
Thank you, everyone, for manning the booth. And I wish we had had a little bit of a sunnier day, but we did get a few people who stopped by. There was one woman who came by from the Economic Development Council, and I shared my email with her. She wanted to talk to us about dashboards, specifically dashboards that could be used for data about writing grants. So I'm hoping that she reaches out and tells me a little bit more. I don't know if she stopped by and spoke with you as well, Matt, but no, you might have been talking to someone else at the time, but she was interested. And there were a few folks that came by that had some questions. We did get quite a few questions, it sounds like, about the beepers, the clickers at the main area. So that might be an area just to follow up with Jim about and see kind of what are the next steps. Maybe we need to publish something on the Southborough blog or something talking about kind of lessons learned and what the next steps might be from that experience. But what did others think about the experience? I mean, is it worth trying to do it again in the future, or we could do it one time and done, or we can try to do it again in the future?
I think my take is it was worth doing, even though it was low traction, like low pickup, I guess. What struck me was most people didn't know what the committee was, which
Right.
that's fair enough. But also didn't even seem very tuned in terms of tech for the town. Like it wasn't like when we then explained who we were, they were like, "Oh, great! Here's my list of things I wish you guys would take care of." Like they were kind of, "Oh, how would I use tech?" Like so that was interesting, I guess. And then like you prompt them, and I had mentioned things like, we looked at perhaps having a way to be able to log a complaint of, there's a wall falling down, a pothole, etc. And they're like, "Oh yeah," but again, there wasn't a huge response. I think one of the things is I don't know that people know where to go to get communication. Like they said, it comes at you from a lot of places and people have their favorites. And a lot of people go to Facebook and the Southborough community share there or mysouthborough.com. And they don't tend to go to the town website from what I could make out or think to go there. So it was interesting because I just don't know that people are thinking about tech, I guess, for the few that stop by. And then have a couple of people that did take a picture that I could fill in to volunteer because one couple were they work in data analytics, so that obviously would have been helpful maybe to tap into. And we said we certainly taken advantage of that help before. So I think it was worth doing just to get a pulse from my perspective. And if we were going to do it next year, we could think about like, is there something we could do to make it more engaging or to attract attention? Knowing that they won't recognize just the name probably. Joe, what were your thoughts?
One thing that I feel is that the day aside, I think we as an entity do not have a product kind of thing to place there. Like the recreation people have or someone else has. Maybe what we would have to do is to kind of get a list of projects that we are doing or have done for, let's say, the police department or let's say for the library, for anyone, and then highlight those situations.
That's a good
This is the
suggestion.
kind of tech that we do deal with, and or this is the contribution pattern. And what also on an engagement perspective that comes up is that what we cannot just be there to show that okay, this is there and you can engage with us. That we started up with that, but I was talking to Angela yesterday about the same thing, that maybe we can create a list in the MPC about of our future projects or whatever, to use this term from industry, tech debt of the town scenario. Uh,
Hmm.
a list of those things, and kind of create a good smaller project scenarios of the future, so we can attract something like a person who can contribute, or maybe give it or talk to the school director, who runs the computer camp, or so who runs the like robotics, or some clubs there who can be our partners in that. So then I think we can then categorize ourselves by like, hey, public work this way, education this way, maybe safety, we have done this. So anyone who wants to participate,
Yeah,
and then I think we
I
should
like that
be a bit
idea.
more organized next time.
Yeah,
It's a
and
good
even
learning
just maybe
experience as to
having
how
like a
people are
couple of
coming in.
iPads
So yeah,
that we could show people, right? Even,
yeah.
like to pull up the website.
The PD was giving out toy cars and arm patches, so
It's
we
hard
need
to put
to get something of that sort. So
the candy wasn't just cutting it then.
no,
Yeah.
no, candy was
The
not cutting it.
candy did attract a lot of people, though, I will
It
say
did
that.
attract a lot of kids, but then like, when we asked them about tech, they were like, "You need Instagram." I was like, "Okay, great."
Halloween
Hey,
came early for them, so that was.
Joe, you've been patient. Yeah.
Yeah, there was just feedback was in the morning it was a little subdued, to say the least. But yes, there were young folks who definitely said, the website's great for old people.
Mhm.
You should use Instagram because that's where we learn everything. I'm not sure how to take that in the future for our country, but we'll see. There was also a couple folks who'd scanned the QR code. Don't know if we actually got uptick. I don't know if, I guess we can talk about that in a bit as to whether or not you actually got people who followed through and finished the form. There were some folks who were, just to echo what's been said, kind of surprised there was kind of like a technology focus. And we did try to tease some responses out in terms of like, how would you better wish to engage with the town, or how, what do you wish to see? And I, at least in the morning shift, I didn't get much solid other than the social media comments and some folks who were aware. Orla already mentioned some folks who are into like data science, and some folks who were also former like cellular employees who were like, oh yeah, that's actually pretty good advice about like potentially booster devices on your home and so on and so forth. So there was a little validation there. But and a couple of folks who commented on they didn't seem to be as aware. So I don't know if we need to surface it better, or if it's just the fact, like we've talked about in the past, the website having like so many of the committees all on like one blast that it's difficult for people to scroll through and understand. There were some folks who like asked about engagement, like alert lists and so forth, and it's like, we have those, maybe you're just not using them. But a couple folks who like promoted their pet platforms, Breezio and a couple of these other uh, combined mailing list and web forums. So I don't think that's necessarily actionable, but maybe we just need to surface the existing web notification, email notification better.
I think as I emphasized the point earlier, also it is people want to connect, or people want to be a part or do the volunteering. We were just not clear enough that what kind of volunteering we want. Perhaps I think it's more like that. I remember it reminds me of the marketing gimmick of what Apple did. It's like, hey, this does not have 10 GB of space. It can store 5,000 songs. Like that, we did not. Yeah, that's what something we needed to do. It's like if we instead of giving the QR code, we would have said we need social media manager volunteers for the town. Sign up here with the QR code. that would have had a line of kids lining up there. And that's what I feel. And the location of the booth was not great because people came in, saw the llamas behind and went, or the alpacas behind and went out.
Yeah, being at the end, they kind of
Oh my
lost
God.
interest.
Oh,
Because
they
that happened
smelled
to
they
me
smelled the
because
bacon.
Angela showed me there's an alpaca. I'm like, oh, is it?
They smelled the bacon and went the other way.
It seems like there's a constant line for that bacon booth. Maybe we need to have bacon next year.
And some
There
good
you
tunes
go.
playing also on the background. So
We'll give away bacon if you sign up, if you volunteer.
Yeah.
I did like the music, Matt. That actually added a
Uh-huh.
whole nother dimension to it that we hadn't had before. So kudos for that.
Good. It was fun. It was fun. So going back to the comment of the EDC member, is that EDC member going to reach out to us?
Yes.
And okay, wonderful.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
There
Yeah,
was-
absolutely.
There was a bit of a reach that I wanted to ask here if Jay was also around, that there were people who right in the booth right next to us was from the Westboro, Southboro reach out like the communities which help out the refugees in the Westboro hotel that we have been there. Their major ask was that does the town have any expertise or even for like laptop kind of, because they have laptops and equipment for the kids and they're who are studying there, but it comes wiped up from Staples and something. They don't have any kind of software or programs from it. So is there something that the town can help with? And or what happens to that's an thing that came to my mind also. What happens to our old equipment that we churn out? What do we do with it? Is it in a buyback program of some sorts, or is it like a recycle? Then maybe can the town think of something better to do in this contributory way to just get that out. Yeah.
Jim's just taking notes here.
Yeah.
Okay, we can definitely ask. So I don't think the town has capacity to help doing any sort of support for that type of thing. It's a good question for them. What happens to the laptops and equipment once it's done? Do we resell it? Do we donate it, etc.? This may be something we might consider adding to sort of the volunteer form if people are interested in doing. In fact, doing like IT support. I don't think in general we don't have volunteers do IT support for the town, but if there are IT support for seniors or citizens groups or refugees, and somebody's interested in doing so, then that's something we could.
And I guess I was even thinking about it too, now that you bring it up, Yash, because I was chatting with the lady also.
Mhm.
And it sounds like, there's a lot of highly qualified folks in that population that now obviously are trying to either re-credential here or they struggle with English and they haven't quite, mastered that to be in a professional environment. But I wonder also like if there was help needed in, like if Jay needed extra help and they have technical skills, like could they volunteer? Because then they're getting some experience. I don't know if he would take advantage of that, but like if with the right skill set.
Yeah.
Yeah. I believe that there's technically it's possible, but I don't think it's probable for a variety of reasons, including security and so forth.
There might be
Yeah.
legal constraints and
Legal,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah.
No, they
The,
are, I think,
the
in place to
reuse
work. It's
of
just, yeah.
equipment though might be
Yeah.
might be viable because I know Massachusetts is pretty strict on e-waste, so there may be a path there for enablement.
Yeah, and what Orla was saying, just on a parallel note to that, we were having a discussion with Sam yesterday, who stopped by, that about like if we again whatever if we have certain kind of work or something as a volunteering situation that we want help out of, then why don't we make it like a write-up scenario and maybe have like an unpaid intern or a project program raised up to the high school, so that at the end of the day it becomes a good quid pro quo for the kids there who are like engaging, and they can get like a certificate of recommendation from the town or from the select board itself for their and it helps them for their career also, college applications, whatever. And we get our own students do our own towns things and contribute back. That's that. But we need to have a solid write up, and not that's why I was thinking about the tech debt situation, that if we have that listing, then we can add 4 lines more to that and make it a solid project kind of a situation.
Yeah, to me, the volunteer forms we put out is very generic. It simply says it's looking for particular skills. It's
Yeah.
not at least currently tied to specific projects. I mean, that's sort of a matrix, right? Skills, project,
Yeah.
and there is a mapping potentially. I was hoping we would just get people volunteer skills. I'm willing to help out with anything, but if we believe that it might be advantageous to solicit in our solicitation of volunteers to say, we don't just want your skills, we want help with this particular project and particular skills on that project, then we can certainly do so. In fact, I was thinking about taking the sign up form we've already created, and it's already put on sborough.org, and sharing it with my South Borough. And possibly as part of that sharing, we can say, okay, here's some upcoming projects that could use these skills. It'd be great if we didn't constrain ourselves to say we're only going to use skills for this particular project. But I love the idea of using that as effectively marketing to solicit. And it's going to be, here are real tech debt, or here are real projects that need working on and require these skills. And we'd love to get people's help. You're on mute, Joe.
That's me trying to police my microphone better. Yeah, in the day job, we do solicit internal partial contributors. The mythical 20% tasks still happen, and it does require you to actually write up something that's like a constrained kind of project. So maybe we could just collaborate on putting together something that's like morsel sized, whether it's like summer that like a student could do, or 6 to 8 month kind of project.
Okay, great. All right, any other comments on Heritage Day? So it seems like the consensus is we should do this again next year, things we can learn from this year. Hopefully the weather is better next year. I think that affected attendance. And yeah, I liked it. I like sort of being there, present. Yeah, it's good. Yeah, definitely thanks to everyone who staffed the booth and your time. All right, next order on the agenda, action item on the agenda is debrief from special town meeting. Seems like the budget, the assessor software update, Assess Pro from Patriot Systems, basically moving from an on-prem installation to a cloud installation, that sailed through. And it would have been nice if all the other items on the warrants had sailed through that easily and quickly. But no issues there. And it also seemed like the town warrant, town meeting warrant article on rec, and this is more just an advisory thing for basically the town meeting recommends that we shift towards a regional emergency communication center. That passed as well. So it'd be good, is the follow-up for that is to stay in touch with this. It's somewhat disconnected from town, meaning rec is its own entity. And that's actually one of the concerns of citizens, is that it's not going to be beholden directly to our town administrator and our town meeting and even our police department. It's somewhat its own entity that runs itself, make your own decisions, and we just pay them. And in fact, even the amount that they can assess to the individual towns, the participating towns, that supposedly will be equitable, but there's some concern that that's going to grow over time, and we're going to have limited control over it. But so we're not going to have direct, as a committee, we're not going to have direct, participation in the selection of technology or planning of technology, et cetera, for the rec. But I think it would be wise. Hopefully, we can build bridges and links to whoever the entity is that's building it out, and say we're interested in staying aware of it and assisting where possible.
I'm sure, Matt, we will need to do that, but we'll need to work with our FD and PD for that situation, because if there are going to be 2 or 3 towns or 4 towns in the rec, then there may not be consensus on certain softwares to be used or technology to be used. And maybe if we find ourselves in a situation that what is recommended from our safety departments, like PD, FD, is different than what the rec is trying to go towards, then I think that's where we'll do take an assessment call, because we have seen the proposal, the Foxborough proposal, and the bill that comes out on the town at the end of the day. It's not a small number. Obviously, it will be smaller than what the Foxborough thing is, but it's still in a magnitude. So it's not. We'll have. It'll be good to be in tune with. Yeah.
That makes complete sense. And Yash, would you be willing to reach out to the PD? And
yes, I
FD
can reach out to the FD, like with the fire chief, because Pontini. So yeah.
Awesome, wonderful, thank you. Okay, any other thoughts or comments about the special town meeting?
I guess I have one question on the clickers for voting, which is technically technology. Does that fall under, like, who manages that? Because
thanks for bringing that up. And yes, that was a subject I heard about at Heritage Day as well. That does follow under us. We previously discussed that with Jim Hegarty. Jim Hegarty is the one who's been hands-on with the system, and Jim, I had a good discussion with him, and I committed to work with him one-on-one and basically review the configuration and help him test. He did a lot himself, and I wish I had reached out prior to this. I mean, he said he personally tested every single clicker prior to the meeting. And he didn't get much sleep prior to town meeting, and of all the testing and so forth. I think it would basically, but it's a complex enough system that you miss one little configuration item, which is what happened, and the whole system shut down. So at issue is he had, the software basically was set to receive, every clicker has a unique ID, and the software is set to receive, he had put in a sort of a test mode to receive clicker IDs like 0 through 100 or 0 through 50, just so we could test it. And he didn't expand the number of the clicker IDs that it was receiving. So it was basically ignoring all the clickers. And he specifically numbered our clickers, requested our clicker be numbered from 600 on up, because these are the same clickers that other towns use. And we want to be able to borrow clickers from other towns. And each one of those has a unique fixed clicker ID. So basically, when he limited it to these small number of clickers, it was never reset back. And it was, anyway, he could have fixed it quickly, but by that time they'd already been collecting.
No, I mean, I think it was late by the time that question had come up, but I think it is a collective.
Well, I think there was 2, because
because
the first night there wasn't enough clickers, right? And then the second night
from a technology perspective, Orla, if you saw that what happened is that we went to the most mundane solution first. After the clickers failed, and we did not. I mean, it would have been easier if people would have gotten like a mechanical clicker of like people counter and said 2 of them. This is a yes one, this is a one, and we could have just asked people to come to the stage area and just clicked, saying that, okay, show me your band, say a yes or no, or whatever it is. That would have been an easier, or I'll say, at least a 1900s level technology compared to the medieval thing that we used of counting using tellers to count.
Well,
Yeah.
I say that I don't think we would be able to do that because asking people to come to the stage, physically come, presents a few problems. One is preventing people from voting twice on a particular issue. And that's why he was very clear that people had to stay in their place, people need to stay seated. And we could sort of divide using tellers into different sections of the room and have different sections, and people should not move. And I think there's also some concern about accessibility, people being able to stand up and walk and wait standing in line. So
But I guess either way, so one, it's helpful to know that we can borrow from other towns, because that was the other thing. I was like, the first night it was, we're not using them because we don't have enough. And I'm like, the very time that we'll want them is when it's something contingent and that is going to bring a crowd. So I think that definitely we want to be prepared. So that's good news. And then it sounds like it was kind of a first time using them challenge that hopefully now is resolved, and therefore we should be successful next time.
Yeah, and the next time will be these two next meetings, when there's going to be the annual town meeting in the spring, regular town meeting, but there's going to be an independent meeting, a special town meeting for the Neary School, and that's going to be the big one. That's going to be draw. I think they're even planning on holding it Algonquin because the number of people it's going to draw.
Wow.
That's the one. That's the one that they're proposing $80 million building, and it's going to add over $1,000, $1,300 a year on average to everybody's taxes. So it's going to be big, and we need to be ready for that. So
then I assume they'll be borrowing. From somewhere.
Yes.
And absolutely need to test. Okay.
So yeah, I'll definitely work with him. And he also, it was also mentioned that, so I think if you have multiple levels of redundancy here, one, if I work alongside Jim, make sure he's not the only person who's aware of it. So having two sets of eyes is a good thing. And second, he's also planning to have the vendor themselves, a representative from the vendor themselves at the meeting available as well. So we have sort of multiple redundancies.
Great.
Okay. Any other thoughts on special town meeting? Okay. Take notes. All right. Upcoming budget cycle inputs. Great point, Orla, for bringing this up in the agenda item. This is the agenda cycle. I don't know the exact timeline, but I do know that I think that every department is being solicited right now with their upcoming proposed budget items. And typically, from my experience, I've seen is in the month of December is when the select board, it's all fed to the select board for their final review and input, and different departments come before the select board to defend or justify what their ask is. And that's all, of course, in preparation for getting on the warrant for the end of town meeting in 2025 in the spring. They like to have that sort of finalized before the end of the year. So right now, I think is when all the departments are putting together their asks and feeding it to the finance / accounting team. So to me, this is basically a great time to do outreach to our individual departments.
Perfect.
And say, what can we support? What would you like? And what would be, how can we support you in technology? What are the things you wish you'd had more of? Things like the public works. Would be nice if they had different software or iPads or whatever. I mean, pretty much every town department, what are their wishes?
And I guess, Matt, we should tie this back to like if there was anything meaningful that came out of the surveys, for the departments, as well as then like just going back to the strategy document. And is there anything, if that's the strategy, is there anything tactical that we think about encouraging folks to put into the plan?
Great point. Yeah, tying it back to the surveys and
Yeah.
the strategy. So that reminds me, I am extremely delinquent in sending out the survey results for department, but I will definitely commit to do that because we need that.
Perfect.
I mean, that should be justification. Like, it's not just the interests of what the department plans to do, but what input from citizens are and residents on what
Yep.
they would like to see, and that itself should be used as input for what technologies we're pursuing, etc. So yeah. So I'll definitely send out the results of the survey per department, and then us as individuals can reach out to our respective departments that we do outreach for, and have those conversations and say, here's the summary of the asks, the requests, and what can we do to move the needle on these items, if anything. Okay. Any other thoughts on the budget cycle? Other action items?
Is the new person at the school now? I can't remember if we've talked about that. Did they hire the new director?
Mm-hmm.
They did. Okay.
Yeah,
Have we had any conversations with them yet?
I did some initial outreach. John Parent is his name, and he was at the time before he was not ready to take on, because he was handling with the school year cycle items. I don't know, Matt, if you had talked to anybody else over there, or I was planning just to.
Yeah.
I was just planning to do another outreach while I talk to Concom and planning to just reach out to him again and be like, hey, you can come to this thing.
I have not done it, but I need to.
Okay.
I need to do the outreach to the superintendent to say we're looking forward to working with John Parent, and yeah, so he can nudge from his side. Yeah.
Put him on my list.
Yep. Okay, taking notes here. Okay. Great. All right. Overall, let's jump to the next item, order of business, which is town tech status updates, starting with the town web properties, and feedback on the town web properties. And we did receive one item. Let me share my screen here. This was on the library webpage. We call it the library web link. So this is feedback, and they were reporting an issue. And the accessibility problem and the events page is not working. And this was a page that they gave. Seems like this is working for me.
Oh, the C title above, so maybe that was they hit it at the wrong time.
Yeah. Library. So here's the library site, and look at the month view, events month. Yeah, so it looks like it's working, but actually it's some sort of new beta version of Event Keeper.
When they said accessibility issue, did they provide any additional data like screen reader or anything?
It seems like it was access, but they couldn't get to it, right? not
Yeah.
working.
Yeah, that's simply what they
As
said.
opposed
Accessibility
to
problem, the events page is not
how we
working.
think about accessibility.
Using Chrome on a tablet. So I don't know if anybody has a tablet. I have a tablet. I can pull it up. See if that's while I'm at it, just before I
Mobile
forget,
device.
let me grab a tablet. Try it out.
It's what I'm on right here. So it's
Oh, you're on a tablet?
month view. Looks pretty much the same. Has the beta version, the broken link.
Did you
The
say
broken? No, it's got that broken image right above the month.
Oh, okay.
That was also in his view, but pulled up.
But it shows this basically, right?
Yes,
There's no
same
okay.
view.
Okay. So maybe it was an issue that's occurred and has been resolved. This was on October 3rd, and there have been a couple weeks since then. But yeah. All right. So jumping back to this Wi-Fi revamp of town properties. Jay did send me some notes on this. Let me pull up the notes. He said the Wi-Fi project's on track with the core switches updated this Friday. So I guess this coming Friday, we're updating the core switches. And I guess it's.
I did see some announcement that the library was closed on Friday because of a network upgrade. So that must be, is that impacting the library then this Friday as well?
I don't know. It was the past Friday that was closed?
No, it looked like it was this coming up
It's coming.
Friday. I
Okay,
was trying
maybe
to
it
find it
is.
again, but I'll try to see if I can find it.
It'd be surprising if you had to upgrade, if you had to close the entire library just to change some switches, which is, I mean, they do have some equipment in the library, at least, you know, but it'd be surprising you have to close the entire library for that. The assessor, he also mentioned that the assessor software update has been scheduled, basically moving to cloud, scheduled for November. So that was fast. That's great.
So it does look like, Angela, right at the top of the homepage, it says the Southborough Library will be closed Friday, October 18 due to a town-wide network outage to facilitate network upgrades.
Okay.
Yeah, where are you
So-
seeing that, Orla? I saw that before, and that's
Just on the homepage, right at the top, there's a banner, or it's in right at the very top of the homepage.
oh, there it is. Okay, see it. Yeah.
I would imagine it's hedging bets because people do
Yeah.
use the library for public access. So
Yeah.
setting expectations.
I guess, you know, if they are updating the core switches,
Then they may
you're
not be
basically
able
taking,
to
you're
check out
taking your
books.
network out. You can't check out
Yeah.
books. Your CCTV cameras probably don't work. I don't know how much, you know, that's
Mhm.
a requirement to have the, you know, physical security online to have the doors open, but
That's not all that easy to see on the homepage. Your eye doesn't
Yeah, no,
automatically go
only for the
up to
fact you
that.
were, I was looking first, yeah.
That maybe they'll have some signage outside or something as well.
Mhm.
is it on the website? So I'm wondering, is like, are any of the town departments closing?
Mhm.
See
Yeah,
any sort of
website.
upcoming events. Anyway, all right. And so for November. Um, all right. Technology related town employee training. This is still an action item I think we should follow up on. I think it's related to the data. What was it? A general data organization classification document that you were working on, Angela. Is that correct?
That is correct. I am going to be running it by the Youth and Family Services group. I don't think there was any big feedback coming out from folks in terms of changes or updates. So I'll go ahead and just share it with the group and then see if they have any particular updates that they'd like to see. And then maybe after I share it with them, if they find it useful, then we can look at whether there are other departments that might want to leverage it as well.
Great.
I think it'll be good to get their feedback as a consumer,
Yeah.
right? Because we're all
Yeah.
so close to data. Just to see, does it resonate or make sense?
Yeah, good point. And if everybody has had a chance to review that, please do take a chance. I do so. I have not yet. I need to do that. I want to do that. Okay. All right. Updates from various different town departments. Any updates of the last month from different outreach departments and boards?
I had a bunch of trouble, so I did not reach out. But I think now that we've talked about the budget, it's been on my to-do list, so I think that's good timing to get some.
Yeah, and I'll commit to arm each of you with that feedback. So it's a great time to do that outreach, and it's not just
Matt, do you want to, when I'm coordinating with the library, would you like to participate in that one too?
I would. Don't make it dependent on me, but I would love to participate.
Okay.
Yeah, if they're the people who appoint me to the committee.
Yeah.
And
perfect.
I'd love to help out. So yeah, thank you.
I think Jay reaches out to all the departments as well to gather their tech budget items. So we might just have to think about how are we coordinating with him so that people aren't telling us something thinking that it's getting in the budget because they've told us and yet they haven't told him. And, somehow it doesn't get into his part of the submission. So whether that's CCing him on the messages or making sure that he's getting the output of those meetings, I think we just want to make sure that we're not creating any kind of disconnect.
Great point. Great point. Yeah, please do CC him on the discussion meetings. And this would be more for our role of helping provide and informing the departments about what we've collected from the survey results and giving them ideas and so forth. But it's very true that we're not the ones collecting these. It either goes into their own department budget or that they would submit directly, or it goes into Jay's budget. That it's not it's not going in, we don't control the budgets. So, okay. Great. Do we need to do a review? I think we're okay so far on the distribution assignments. Town meeting room tech. Jay and I met with a couple of vendors and sort of basically they put together some proposals, and we're starting with the main meeting room, the call of hearing room in the townhouse, and we're asking them to basically do some slight revisions to their proposals. But I'm excited about what's being proposed. I'm really excited to what's being what we're converging on which is truly turning the call hearing room into, first of all, a Zoom room. So you have a tablet and you can schedule the meetings, and anybody non-technical can go in and hit the big button that says start meeting, and it just runs itself. Also, all the proposals we've reviewed, the couple of proposals we've reviewed have had basically a microphone audio processor that should have better audio reinforcement within the room. So for anybody who's visited that room, every time the HVAC blower goes on, it's incredibly loud. And we want to get to the point where we can actually have meetings with the blower on. So the person whoever it is who walks over the wall and turns off the blower for a certain amount of time, you don't have to do that because we'll have good enough audio reinforcement within the room. And we're also will be incorporated within the proposals is this technology which we discussed, which is the Zoom, forgotten what it's called, but basically it does separate AI tracking of faces and separate framing of the individual participants dynamically.
Is that the AI companion, or is that a different plugin?
The different
Different
plugin.
plugin.
Yeah, this is Zoom. Actually, a meeting room tech. Zoom Intelligent Director, as it's called. And this is where basically through an array of 4 cameras, it will identify all the participants within the zones and provide separate Zoom frames. And the Zoom Intelligent Director is basically means your Zoom host PC. Normally in Zoom rooms, your host PC can be one of these little small nukes, as they're called. Small little chip on board PCs about this size, not very much power effectively a cell phone. But with the Intelligent Director, getting these video feeds and continually analyzing them for faces and tracking and so forth, you basically have to have you have a Nook, Intel Nook, nice. The Intelligent Director requires a beefy PC with a beefy graphics card because it uses intensive GPUs and some sort of AI capability for that. But it's been around for about 1.5 years, and it's pretty impressive. So that's what we're asking for. So anyway, still reviewing, still waiting on quotes from one vendor and reviewing with another vendor, and we'll see where that goes. But I'm really hoping that gets into this next year's budget, which will be exciting. 5-year strategic tech plan. Orla, I think you had some comments on it. It'd be great to discuss those.
I did, and apologies, it took me so long. Every time I got on a plane in the last month, I used to pull it out, but then it took me multiple trips to get through it. So my thought, I guess my overall thought was, as I was going through it, because I was like, there is so much in this document, all good stuff. And I do think the strategy is very clear in the guiding principles. So kudos to Angela, if it was you or whomever started the original one. And then but as I was going through it, I was like, oh, now it's morphed somewhat into like, there's the strategy, but then there's also an update on things that have happened, like the website was updated here, so it was done, etc. So then it kind of lost, which, one makes it a longer document, and then it's no longer really a strategy. So that's where my thought was, should we separate it where we have the strategy, which is more succinct and aligns to the guiding principles, and then there's an annual update that says, okay, based on what we set out in the strategy, as well as the input from the surveys, here's now what we've achieved, or here's what we want to set out to do next year. So it kind of ties a little bit, Yash, to what you were saying too, in terms of even how we think about asking people to volunteer. It's like saying there's a plan, but I think that also then ties back to the conversations with each of the departments, because we can't make the plan in a vacuum. So I guess the net of it, my thought was to say we could make the strategy more succinct. I think it's there. It's just break that piece out of the document. And I did take a pass of that in the last version I had sent you guys across, I think. And then agree that we would do an annual update then that says, here's what we're focused on for the next 12 months, and here's what we've done in the last 12 months type of thing. that is something that we could work at a tactical level, I guess, with each of the departments on.
I like all that feedback. I mean, I think it's time. I didn't create the original strategy document, but did a pretty deep revision of the document that existed. So it's probably time now to maybe do another deep
So the
dive
guiding
on.
principles, I think, that
Russian.
were in there all seem very still on point.
Those
and
shouldn't really
relevant.
change over
Yeah.
time. I think it's more like, you know, the KPI and some of
Yes.
those. But
Because
and then,
yes,
you
that
know,
was one of my questions was like, we have all these KPIs, and I was like, well, do we have a baseline? Who's even
Yeah.
measuring them? Have they improved? Have they not? So that tactical piece, but you're right, then it is very time consuming. So
we also, I
think
mean, this might be something for us to discuss in some of our calls is I think we have a lot of ideas about what we would love to see, but
yeah,
then there's what are, you know, what is the town actually
What's
realistically
pragmatic.
willing to fund? And
Yeah.
so at the beginning of each year, if, you know, we decide, you know, what are the top 2 priorities or what are the top 2 things that we really want to make progress on this year,
Yeah.
I think it could help maybe, you know, us stay focused on, you know, some very specific initiatives. And like when we decided we wanted to do the website, you know, I think we put kind of
Yes.
all of our power behind the website. Now the question is really like, what's the next thing that we really feel is the burning platform that needs to be addressed, and how do we make sure that we're, you know, making progress on that point?
I agree.
Do you have actual markups, Orla, that you can send over to
Yeah,
me?
no, I sent them across to you. I hope they
You did. Okay. Okay. Just today or earlier?
No, it would have been last Monday.
Okay, let me take a look. And if I didn't get it, I will come back
Let
to
me
you.
know. So
Okay.
yes, because and basically I think I sent 3 attachments. One was just marking up the first one, but then I kind of went back and was like, oh, what if I separated them? And I sent one, which is now a strategy only, and then I tried to break out like kind of more of a status
Okay.
update in the other one. But if you don't have them, let me know.
Okay.
The KPIs I think came from me. I'm a strong believer in anytime you want to improve or do something, and
Measure what
if it's
matters.
priority, you need to measure exactly.
Mhm.
And I do think that we put a bunch of KPIs in there, and you're completely right. We haven't been measuring them, and we need, but I think we need to decide: does it not matter anymore, or in which case we should remove the document, or should we start measuring? And in general, I you know, if it was a priority at one point in time, I mean, we should discuss. But I do think we should get better and more better about measuring. And I
Maybe
think
it's we pick a
should measure more.
subset, right? Because it's like, great, all of those would be ideal, but it's like if we can only measure 10 things, what are the 10 we start with, which would then create the discipline? Because I think, and we could certainly have that conversation with the departments now as we meet them also, because they are ultimately probably, they would have to provide the data. So maybe that's part of the review to say how many of these are you already measuring that we can just leverage versus what would it take to measure some of them.
Yeah, good point. Good point. And this sort of prioritization, add top priorities per year, it would help us as we do the department outreach. So we can say, look, here's a priority across town for technology. How does this relate to your department? Yeah.
Yeah.
So related to that, are there particular items in there that we want to discuss that are that we feel like, do we want to have a brief prioritization discussion right now based on what's in there?
We could. I'd have to pull it up despite reading it 25 times.
I need to look at the feedback that.
It was in Word. I can find it now on the spot. I can share it. Yeah. I have the original one in front of me, which has the KPIs. Do you want me to share that?
Sure.
Let's see. All right, is that coming across?
Yes.
Okay, great. All right, I think, yeah, key metrics. So improve citizen engagement and experience. I'll give everyone a minute to read it.
I'm going to have you send this to me again, Orla. The last thing I got from you was that dimensions of data quality.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'll send it again. I was traveling and maybe then it thought it went and it didn't. So I'll resend.
Maybe the attachment was too big or something and it didn't go through, but okay.
Okay. I'll resend that then.
Yeah, this definitely was aspirational. Percentage of town departments covered by a single web domain. The more I work with the different departments, the less likely that's going to actually happen, right? Same thing with committees. Unified invoicing and billing. That's also
which I guess, and you know, in one sense, you look at this and you say, "Oh, it seems pretty basic, right?" When you don't consider where we're starting from. As we think about the survey feedback over the years, like, is there some of these that you would say would bubble to the top more?
Great question. I don't know. I should.
DPW is one that gets mentioned quite a bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I tried to renew my pass online this year and was not successful because I was like, I wanted to test it out and see if I can make it happen. Did not.
Yeah, that's one of the systems I do think comes up every year.
Yeah. Well, it's going to be a long exercise, but we probably shouldn't.
We send this back out and we can have a look.
Yeah, if people could.
Asynchronous is probably better.
Yeah, because there's probably like, should we aim and like highlight what we think the top 2 are per category or something, or 3 or something like that, and then we could at least start there.
Sure. Yeah. Should we do it basically top 2 per category or top 5 overall? What?
I think top 2 to 3 per category probably makes sense, right?
Okay. Yeah.
Because we have 5 categories. It seems. Cost saving communications. Yeah.
Yeah.
What I don't remember is how they tie back to the principles. Look, I can certainly share this again because I'll resend it after this meeting and give it to you.
Yeah, and if you send it to the D list, then everybody should get a copy, and then
perfect. So I'll just send it to
look at it. Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
Okay, awesome. So yeah, we'll send that out, and let's just, if we could take a time to review it and identify what you believe is the top 2 prioritized items per priorities per category in the tech plan, and then we can review the results in our next MTC meeting. Okay. Any other items that I've missed for our agenda tonight? I don't think so. Anything else we need to discuss?
Nope.
Let's go and take a look at our calendars for a November meeting. Thanksgiving is the week of the
25th.
Okay, so week of the 25th. Okay.
So if we do the week of the 18th.
Yeah. How does everybody's schedule look for the 19th?
It's for me.
That's good.
Can make that work.
Tuesday, November.
'19th works.
Okay, so Joe and Dash, it works for you. How about you, Angela? It works for you? Yep. All right, and Orla, does it work for you?
Yep, good for me.
Okay, we'll do Tuesday 19th. Okay, thank you for everyone's time. I move that we adjourn.
Second.
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 Dash first. Go around Joe,
Aye.
Dash,
Aye.
Orla,
I
Angela. I think you're muted, but I
lip
think I
read.
saw lip read and I. So great. Thank you, everyone. Have a great
Aye.
night and rest of your October.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.